You've been there, settling in for an evening of TV only to waste half the night scrolling. Enter Fire TV, entertainment with zero effort required. Fire TV serves up personalized recommendations from across all your apps. Not sure what to watch? Just tell Alexa Plus what you're in the mood for and she'll pull up the perfect recommendation. Problem solved. Stop the scroll, start the show. Find what you're looking for with Fire TV. Subscriptions may be required.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Calling for a ceasefire. Hopefully is calling for a ceasefire in the Middle East and to reopen dialogue. What do you say about that?
Well, look, we can have dialogue, but I don't want to do a ceasefire. You know, you don't do a ceasefire when you're literally obliterating the other side. They don't have a Navy. They don't have an Air Force. They don't have any equipment. They don't have any spotters. They don't have anti-aircraft. They don't have radar, and their leaders have all been killed at every level. We're not looking to do that. Thank you.
Welcome, my friends, to the Saturday morning extravaganza. Your Saturday morning vibe. This is James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley, with you here. Telephone numbers, if you would like to be on the program this morning. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. Looking forward to catching up with you. Today, Princess Diana will be with us later in the program. America's Small Caffeinated Mom, Rhonda Schrock, has the day off today. Looking forward to catching up with you. We have had one busy week. Spring break in a lot of quarters across America. I think they're kind of tired of spring break down in certain parts of Florida. I saw a big article about Daytona and what transpired there over last weekend, and officials saying they're tired of this. They want to stop promoting the destination as a spring break resort area. They don't want all these kids down in Daytona at spring break. But so many other things have happened in the news. If you are waiting on TSA lines this morning, congratulations. Hopefully you'll get to your destination at some point today, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, especially if you miss your flights because the lines have now in some cases exceeded 2-3 hours just to get through security. But you would be perhaps happy to know that there was another vote on reopening the DHS. Sadly, Democrats once again blocked it. So here we are. I think it's day 34, day 33, 34, 35, something like that, of the DHS shutdown while we're also in the middle of a war. All of this because Democrats insist that protecting illegal immigrants from deportation is vastly more important than protecting the American people from the threat of terrorism coming from the number one state sponsor of terrorism in the world, Iran, while we are in a conflict with them. And Democrats also don't care how long you have to stand on line, what it is that you have to go through as passengers, because illegal immigrants come first, and protecting illegal immigrants' right, they believe, a right to stay in the country illegally, comes before everything else. And that is what this entire partial government shutdown is about. They are demanding that you stop ICE from doing their jobs. Make sure that they're doxxed. Make sure that people know who these agents are so that they can harass them online, so that they can harass their families, perhaps even do worse to them, in an attempt to stop them from actually doing their jobs, which is deporting illegal immigrants. despite the fact that Kristi Noem has been reassigned from the administration. That was one of the things they wanted. It happened, despite the fact that Bovina, who was running ICE Operations 2, has announced he's retiring. He's no longer. Tom Holman is now running it. Despite all of the things that have taken place, Democrats are still insisting they're going to keep your government partially shut down, including important cyber functions, battling cyber war, while we are in a state of war a state of conflict with Iran, all to protect illegal immigrants who have no right to be here. So many other things in the news today, and we will cover that. By the way, I found this remarkably almost funny, hysterical, but I didn't have time to do the research to go back and look at what happened when the Patriot Act was being legislated and when all of this took place in the days after 9/11. But today, the editorial board of the Washington Post has determined that there's a better way to do airport security. They published a piece this morning, The Airports Without Long Security Lines. There's no reason a dispute over DHS funding should make passenger screening a nightmare. That's according to the Washington Post editorial board. And they say passengers are waiting in long lines at airports across the country because security screeners are going unpaid, not showing up to work. They're going unpaid because politicians in Washington disagree about immigration policy. Let me correct that for the New York Times, for the Washington Post editorial board. They're going unpaid because Democrat politicians in Washington want to protect illegal immigration. It makes no sense, but fortunately there's a way to prevent this from ever happening again. Currently, the Washington Post editorial board says 20 American airports use private contractors, not the TSA, to screen passengers. And those private contractors still get paid regardless of whether Congress passes legislation on time. The Federal Government Screening Partnership Program, SPP, allows airports to apply to use qualified private companies for passenger screening rather than relying on unionized federal employees. The TSA still gets to set the regulations and standards for the private screeners. The agency just doesn't do the screening itself. This is a much better way to do airport security. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it used to be before the politicians in Washington stepped in the days after 9/11 and demanded that the private airline screening become the chore of government. And now, almost a quarter century after 9/11, here comes the Washington Post editorial board say, you know what? Let's privatize it. Instead of relying on these unionized, I wonder how the left is going to take that. Instead of relying on these unionized workers, let's let the private sector do it. Sure, the TSA can set the standards, but let the private sector do it. Privatize it, and that way we will never have to deal with this abuse that is happening to American passengers because Democrats are insisting that illegal immigrants come first. Illegal aliens come first. American citizens come last. It is a stunning reversal from the left. The very idea that the government is not doing the job, turn it over to the private sector. Your thoughts on that are welcome. There are other things. I have a long list of things. So we can get through some of these. Let me just read your partial list. Oh, by the way, before I do that, got a text this morning from a friend of mine. It was about, painkiller that has been contaminated, it's being recalled, wonder what's in it. But in the text, she said she was up early making breakfast for, she and her husband have to go out this morning, and she and her husband have an appointment. So she's up early making breakfast for the husband, and that just warmed my heart. The good wife. The good wives, yes, the good wives still exist in America. For some of you youngsters, you young men especially, that don't quite understand what I'm talking about, if you don't, you won't. But the good wives the good wife is still out there. She's up early making breakfast for her husband. And that's just part of American just goodness. The way things once were and the way things should be again. 800-848-9222. Oh, the list. Sarah Sanders was kicked out of a joint in Little Rock, Arkansas, because the workers felt uncomfortable with the governor of the state. That we feel uncomfortable. PJs can they leave? It's called the Cassanteria or something like that. Charlie Kirk's widow was doxxed. Her shopping was doxxed. The day she had to emerge, get out, run to Utah where her husband was assassinated, some TikToker with this high-end store, Alo, whatever it's called, they released, somebody that works in this organization is alleged to have released the information, and they splashed her shopping list all over TikTok, and now it's on social media in an attempt to embarrass her. Look, she's out having a shopping spree when her husband died. She needed clothes. She ran out. Someone else did the shopping for her because she took nothing. She got on a plane and headed up there to see her husband. But this is the left. And the store is not saying a word about it. Mayor Mondami's wife threw around the N-word. Have you heard anything about that? Throwing around the N-word. Along with other along with pro-terrorism posts when she was young. Nothing from the press on that. Some people are allowed to use the N-word. Kathy Hochul begging the rich to come back to New York after years earlier telling them to get out. New York attempting to steal generational wealth from people. Yes, we're going to take a break.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So one thing about this commodity, it's the input to every sector of the economy. We have 11 sectors. Every single sector requires a reasonably priced energy source. And, we've talked a lot about alternative energy and new ideas and nuclear power, but this shock has proven to the world that oil still matters, not some, a lot. It matters a lot, and I expect policy around hydrocarbons to change dramatically everywhere in terms of securing a source of it at a price sort of around the $70 range. So you're going to see that happen, and a lot less money going into alternatives. That may not be good or bad, depending on where you sit, but clearly we didn't buy any insurance investing billions of dollars in wind and solar. It's been practically useless in helping us in this point right now.
That was Kevin O'Leary. He was on CNBC. Yes, my friends, oil still matters. And you're not seeing the windmills and the solar panels taking up the slack. Police on this, well, tomorrow's their anniversary too, of their signing with A&M Records. And wow, their first number one hit came shortly afterwards. And they've had so many hits since, and then of course Sting's solo career. James Golden, Snerdley, 800-848-9222. And we'll do I was going through a list of things that happened this week. Cesar Chavez got turned into a hero first rate to a sexual predator. It was supposed to be the big Cesar Chavez Day. New York Times busted a story out. And what's the plan for the war in Iran to win it? Hi, Teddy. We're going to grab Teddy soon. We're not right now, in a minute. New York Times busted Cesar Chavez out as a sexual predator. And Dolores Huerta, who was the co-founder of the farm workers movement out there, revealed, she's in her 90s now, revealed that Cesar Chavez raped her on two separate occasions. On both occasions, she became pregnant and fostered the children out. She said she does have a relationship with them now. But the fallout from that story, now you have in California, they're taking his name down off things. They've canceled the holiday, renaming it. It's big. CBS in the news, they killed their radio news division. That's an interesting story for those of us in the media. You know, CBS radio news is what started modern day electronic media. All of it. And as a national force. And so that was a big story inside the broadcast media. Also CBS, Face the Nation. Margaret Brennan, the hostette, was offended by Pete Hegseth praying for fallen troops this week. We have not even touched on the Afroman jury trial that took place in Ohio. And that was huge. SAVE Act still languishing in the Senate. There's another way to do it, which they're not doing it, which is to just do it through reconciliation. Maybe we'll have time to get into that. They're going to be debating again today. Chicago in a fiscal death spiral. People suggesting they should just go ahead and declare bankruptcy. Meanwhile, you won't know her name. A Chicago student was killed. Walking. College student. You're not going to know her name because she's not a Renee Good to the left. We'll be back.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is all the TSA line. The line where you get your ID and boarding pass checked is all the way up there. It comes around here, all the way around, all the way around, all the way around. It snakes through here, but then you have to take the escalator over there down to the baggage claim downstairs, and that's how you end up down here. Right now, according to that board, it says that the wait is 150 minutes. Not sure if that's accurate.
America's Doctor advises me this recall that took place of a liquid pain reliever for children. There were some contaminants that were found. Nearly 90,000 bottles have been recalled. He informs me that the pharmaceutical company that makes it is overseas. In fact, he identifies the country as India. And it says and the doctor says it shows the importance we have to make sure that all medicines we ingest here are made in the United States of America, especially medicines that are designed for infants and children. There has to be some accountability here. Yeah, James Golden Snerdley. I was going through a list of things that happened this week. I want to get to some calls, though. So we're going to hurry it up. California, the Afroman trial, we're going to have to spend a minute with that. Nick Shirley and other internet journalists are out in California all over the place, uncovering fraud. And what is Gavin Newsom doing? He's trying to smear the internet journalists instead of dealing with the fraud. John Fetterman's numbers tanked. They are in the tank among Democrats. Trump's approval rating overall in the country is the lowest it's been, 43%, 42%, depending on which poll you look at. But whatever. And then Trump upset some leftists with his, they have their undies tight up because of the statement he made when Japanese Prime Minister was visiting about Pearl Harbor. Chuck Norris passed away this week. March Sadness is underway. And I don't do the whole brackets, the whatever thing with March Sadness, but and apparently it's a big deal. I've never really participated in March Sadness, so I don't know. Virginia's redistricting plan isn't going as well as some people might think it is. We're going to visit Hank Johnson later on, too. He's complaining about English-speaking mandates for commercial driver's licenses. So we'll revisit that as we get along through the program this morning. Let's turn to the telephones right now. I saw him there. He's there. Teddy in Yonkers is there. Teddy, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning, Bo. Hope you're doing well. Outside of my arthritis on my knees, I'm okay, but that's just getting to me. I mean, I'm 77. I was an athlete. I played paddleball for 15 years on the concrete. I was very good, but it catches up to me, and I'm bone to bone now. And I don't want to get a knee replacement. I suffer. I take some Tylenol. I put ointments on, and I do the best I can. And I just got to try to keep on going until I'm 100.
Keep on going, bro. The human machine is not a machine that's designed to last on this plane forever, sadly.
I realize that now, Bo.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we do the best we can, Teddy. Yeah. Teddy, I saw the comment that you had was, what is the plan for the war?
Okay, here's the thing, Bo. Just listen to me out because I think you're great and you're very smart. I disagree with you on certain things, but you're still very smart. Bo, I support the war. I would think that the initial reason that we went in is to eliminate not 90%, not 95%, 100% capability and eliminate all things that they need to make nuclear weapons, uranium, whatever. I'm not a scientist. Whatever they need to make nuclear weapons, to eliminate all of that, and the ballistic missiles, to eliminate that. And if you want to kill the leaders there, fine. But regime change, I don't think that's going to happen. And if that's one of the goals, I'm afraid I don't know what to say, okay? I don't think that we're going to have regime change because the people are afraid of revolting. Look what happened to those 3 teenagers that were hanged, okay? And they were athletes, okay? They confessed under torture. And Bo, when you see that petrifies people. I don't see a regime change. Now I'd like to get your comments.
I think your remarks are brilliant, Teddy. I mean, first of all, yes, to the main goal of making sure that they do not ever have nuclear capabilities again, period. And that is one of the things that Trump said this week. He said, in addition to saying we're obliterating them, that we are taking out their ability to rebuild. He said it would take them right now 10 years to try to even get back and rebuild it. But they're still pressing on. By the way, Donald Trump says he's thinking about winding down our actions in there. He floated that. That may have been in response to this disagreement he had with Netanyahu, where Netanyahu bombed their oil, and Trump said he did not want that. Also, there's still a lot. Princess Diana last week, when she was here, talked to us about Carg Island. There's still a lot going on with Carg Island. I think we have something on that, by the way, of sound material, but I'll look for it. At any rate, I think now, as for regime change, it may or may not happen. But that is not our professed goal. Now, you have this little wrinkle that came up this week with this Joe Kent guy. And now he's out claiming, and we have that too, that all of this, it's the Jews. It pretty much, I'm translating. It's nice speak. And this is something that's being put out by a few people that are conservative, that are just not happy about any of this, that the Jews let us into this because they want regime change as their objective. And this guy, Joe Kent, seems to be playing now in that camp. I don't think Trump said, if the people are there, this is your chance. If you want regime change, you got to take it. But I don't think he is stuck on the idea of regime change as an objective. I think his objective center more around the resources of oil, number two. Number one, making sure that Iran cannot pose a nuclear threat. Ever. And he said that really clearly. So I think that you were right, Teddy. I think you're dead on right, actually, with your analysis of the situation. And I don't know whether we're going to have regime change unless the people there decide that they do. And what happened to those athletes was horrific. 19 years old. And they just hang them high.
Kill all those leaders. That I'm for. Knock them out, one by one. Okay? And,
well, it seems that Israel is trying their best to do that. I don't know whether... I can't utter those words. I just can't. But I will say to you... I just will say to you that...
How about eliminate?
I think the world... Eliminate. Yeah, well, I think the world... I don't think there's going to be too much upset in the world if there is a very serious regime change in Iran. So, there you go. All right. So, Teddy, we're in agreement this morning.
Well, yeah, that's why I try to be objective. I call it on both sides. I'm like a mini Fetterman. I'm a mini Fetterman, if you want to describe me like that.
Okay, yeah. And, Fetterman's taking heat from his base.
Yeah,
the Democrats in Pennsylvania are not happy with him.
Yeah. All right.
His numbers, it's over 100% difference from his favorability. Now he's 60 points underwater among Democrats. It's astounding.
Really?
Yeah, it's astounding. I don't know whether he can pull out of it as a Democrat. Maybe he can run as a Republican. Or maybe enough Republicans in Pennsylvania would cross over and vote for him if he were on the ticket. If I were a Republican, depending on who they put up in who the Republicans put up in Pennsylvania, I would really have to consider giving Fetterman my vote. Because this guy has been on a lot of things. Not on everything. He's still a Democrat on a lot of things, but on many things, he has been so courageous in just going for common sense. And I think that's worth something.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right,
Yeah.
Bo, thanks for taking my call. And I appreciate
Teddy.
it. Have a great
Good
day.
to hear from you. You too. Thank you.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Let's head back to the telephones and check in with Chris calling from the Catskills. Chris, how are you? Hello, Chris. I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing anybody. We had Chris there. Let's try North Carolina then, shall we? Or do we have an issue with the phone?
James.
Hi. Got you now.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here and listening.
Hello, James?
Okay, for some reason, you can't hear me. We have some issue with the phones. Put everybody on hold. Let's get the issues worked out. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We know you're there. You don't know I'm here, but we know you're there, so we'll figure this out. And hopefully after we pass the top of the hour mark, we'll rejoin and get back with the phones. In the meantime, I want to at least begin talking about a trial that took place. That would be the Afroman case in Ohio. Afroman, you may know him or not from the hit song that he had, Because I Got High, which apparently did very well. Anyway, Afroman had his house raided by police, supposedly on kidnap charges, kidnapping something and drugs. They found nobody in his house that he had kidnapped. There were no drugs. Apparently, it was a mistake. They ramshackled his house a bit, broke the door, broke some other things, and of course he was responsible for took down his camera system, and he was responsible for all the damages himself, and he was ticked. So he started it grew into videos, but he started making songs about these police officers, and some of the songs were rough, especially one directed at a female member of the team that invaded his house, who he named Lick'em Low Lisa. But one of the other songs that he did was about lemon pound cake. Because in one of the surveillance videos of the cops in his house, from his surveillance system before he took it down, one of the officers takes a look at the pound cake that's on the table. Ended up, the cops sued him for defamation. Especially, and I'll tell you what, the Lickin' Low Lisa video was rough. And they played it during the court while she was giving her testimony, and she just cried. It was rough, including AI images of supposedly her having sex with another woman, and I mean graphic, including other things. But yes, the jury came back and said there was no defamation here. And it has really boosted up Afroman's visibility online especially, but all over the country. He's been interviewed by every major organization there is practically, or they've reported on the story. It is remarkable what took place. And I have mixed feelings about it. I went and saw the one with the officer. I saw her full testimony, and I got to say, I felt bad for her. I felt really bad for her. And it's like, this is one of those two wrongs things, because she was wronged. I mean, to me, it was just unconscionable, the way that she was portrayed. Anyway, hour number uno in the can. Hour number duo coming up.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, my friends. Our number duo underway here of the Saturday morning extravaganza. Your Saturday morning vibe, if you want to be with us on the telephones, 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222 is the number. We will be taking phone calls fairly soon. Yes, we've got that resolved. As we were leaving our number uno, began discussing the Afroman case out in Ohio. Let us continue along that vein.
We'll bring it to ya. Afroman is gonna do ya. Afroman is gonna screw ya. My proof's on the internet. They vandalized my property, my money came up short. They disconnect my cameras because they are a poor sport. They're the predators and the victims, and they're suing me in court. My proof's on the internet. Afroman will bring it to ya. Afroman is gonna do ya. Afroman is gonna screw ya. My proof's on the internet.
And we decided to end the song there because as he goes into the verses, he makes accusations about some of these police officers that I do not want to air on this program. But the jury in the case decided that Afroman had a case. Again, they came into his house. He has videos. This guy has done a masterful job on. So, first of all, if you haven't seen Afroman, he a lot of the dress that he has, it kind of reminds me of Don King. He has the American flag. He has all of it. He's got a full suit, and that's when he's marching out in public and it looks like a park, singing that other song, Afroman's Gonna Do It To You. And he has a lot of fun with it. Cut 17, Afroman explains why he was sued by the police officers after they came into his house with a search warrant, and they kind of destroyed some things in the house. He says they took his money and didn't return all of it, broke down his door, broke down a few other things that he had to pay for. So he just went to the internet and he mocked them, made fun of them. One of them is really, as I mentioned before the hour, one of them is so rough. The way that he handled one particular female officer that invaded the home. I saw it. The woman was just crying on the stand as they were playing the video, and it was long. And he tagged her with the name Lickum Low Lisa. Questioned her sexuality. She has a very deep voice. And also in the video has her performing acts of an intimate nature with a female and other things. The woman just cried as the video was in court. But the jury came back in his favor. Anyway, this is what he says.
This whole thing is their fault, and they're suing me for their mistake. Under the circumstance that I got freedom of speech, after they run around my house with guns and kick down my door, I got the right to kick a can in my backyard, use my freedom of speech, turn my bad times into a good time. Yes, I do. And I think I'm a sport for doing so, because I don't go to their house, kick down their doors, flip them off on their surveillance cameras, then try to play the victim and sue them.
Is there anything that could change your mind about what you're doing to these deputies?
Is there anything that can change my mind about the fact that they shouldn't have been at my house in the first place? Is there anything that can change my mind about how my money shouldn't have been touched in the first place? No.
During the trial, this particular segment had a lot of attention. Cut 46, one of the sheriffs involved, the sheriff, anyway, it speaks for itself. Here's from the trial that took place, a portion of the testimony with one of the sheriffs.
So you're claiming that is the defamation statement is that he said he had sex with your wife?
Yes.
Okay. And that's painted you in a false light?
It's caused tremendous pain in my life.
I'll get to that. We have to go through false light first. So does it paint you in a false light?
Yes, that my wife is cheating on me with Mr. Foreman.
But we all know that's not true, correct?
I don't know.
What? What?
Wait, you don't know if your wife's cheating on you or not?
You want to go there?
No, I just want to ask that question because you said we don't know.
I've been with that woman since middle school.
I know.
I would hope she wouldn't. But you know what? Once somebody puts it out there for their fun and entertainment, it's out there. And it's a problem.
So it's something we cannot verify the truth of? Is it a thing that can be verified, true or false?
Ask your client.
Yeah. Yeah. Folks, he had to answer. They're suing for defamation. He has to prove that he was harmed. So the lawyer asked him, well, is it true? He can't say, of course it's not true. Because if he says, of course it's not true, then how were you harmed? Well, I don't know. Do you want to really go there? Yes, it's a trial. Anyway, this did not end up well. So the big thing that came out of it was the lemon cake song. And let's give you a sample of the lemon cake song. Again, the surveillance video showed one of the officers' gun, and he looks like he puts his gun in his holster for a moment to stare at the big lemon pound cake that's on the table. That resulted in another internet song from this trial that has gone viral. Cut 16. Some of you will recognize
kick down my door. Then I heard the glass
the melody
break.
and the song.
They found no kidnapping victims, just some lemon pound cake. Mama's lemon pound cake. It tastes so nice. It made the sheriff wanna put down his gun and cut him a slice. Of what? Lemon pound cake. He wanna put down his Glock. Lemon pound cake. Trending on TikTok. Lemon pound cake. He's a family guy. Lemon pound cake. The munchies because he got hot. Lemon pound cake. Pound cake. He's a Adams County sheriff. He's hungry and he's big as hell. He was sniffing for weed. Then he smelled another smell. What was that? Mama's lemon pound cake. It tastes so nice. It made the sheriff wanna put down his gun and cut him a slice. Of what?
Of what?
Lemon pound cake. He wanna put down his Glock. Lemon pound cake. Trending on TikTok. Lemon pound cake. He's a family guy. Lemon pound cake. The munchies because he got high. Lemon pound cake. Pound cake. He sees my cake and my porno mag call boom boom
He sees my cake in my porno mag called Boom Boom.
Mama's lemon pound cake. It tastes so nice. Make the sheriff wanna put down his gun.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you get the gist. Now, those of you, by the way, old enough to remember Under the Boardwalk, yes, the melody, Under the Boardwalk, down by the sea, by the Drifters. Jury came back in his favor. $3 million suit done, and he is, Lemon Man, being interviewed all over the place, says he said America won. Free speech has won. Let's take, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to a break, shall we? When we get back, since we're doing a fun segment, let's talk about Hank Johnson when we get back.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, Representative Hank Johnson from Georgia down there is not in favor of truck drivers, especially driving these dangerous semi-trucks, to have a mandatory requirement that they speak English and pass the commercial driver's license test in English. This is Hank Johnson this week.
Standards. It's an anti-worker bill that raises barriers. It slaps an English-only mandate on the entire commercial driver's license written exam, a mandate that has nothing to do with safety and everything to do with shutting qualified drivers out. My amendment takes which I will make shortly, takes a targeted approach, and it keeps one part of the test that actually matters for safety, recognizing highway traffic signs in English, and removes the blanket English-only requirement for the rest. Drivers still have to know the signs that keep everyone safe, and they shouldn't be blocked from earning a living because they struggle with written English, and which has nothing to do with their ability to operate a truck safely. And with that, I will yield back.
Yeah, so reading the directions, let's say, on how to repair, no, just as long as they can just read basic signs. This is absurd. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, who Hank Johnson is. Let's go back. This was about 15 years ago. This was actual testimony from Hank Johnson. At the time, he was questioning Admiral Robert Willard. The plan was to put more Marines onto the island of Guam. This is Hank Johnson about 15 years ago.
This is a island that at its widest level is 12 miles from shore to shore, and at its smallest level or smallest location, it's 7 miles between one shore and the other. Is that correct?
I don't have the exact dimensions, but to your point, sir, I think Guam is a small island.
Very small island, and about 24 miles, if I recall, long. So 24 miles long, about 7 miles wide at the least widest place on the island, and about 12 miles wide.
What's your point?
On the widest part of the island. And I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that figure with me, sir. I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize?
We don't anticipate that. The Guam population, I think, currently about 175,000, and again, with 8,000 Marines and their families, it's an addition of about 25,000 more into the population.
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and
yes, ladies and gentlemen, this congressman who doesn't want English years ago to the Admiral of the Navy, if you put 25,000 Marines on Guam, I'm afraid the island is going to tip over and capsize into the ocean. That is Representative Hank Johnson, a representative, a congressman of the United States of America, worried that if 25,000 Marines go to the island of Guam, which already has 175,000 people on it, the 25,000 Marines that would be stationed in Guam would cause the entire Pacific island of Guam to tilt over and capsize into the Pacific Ocean. And this is a man from Georgia that Democrats continue to elect to Congress all these years later, who now wants people to drive semi-trucks on your roads that don't speak English. We're coming back.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hoping to check in with Princess Diana, too. I haven't chatted with the princess this morning. I'm going to have to try to reach her. See what's up. Anyway, let's head back to the telephones. Chris in the Catskills. We were trying to connect with you before. Thank you for your patience. Hi, how you doing this morning, Chris?
Good morning, James. I heard that Chuck Norris once got pulled over by the police. He let them go with a warning.
Nice line.
On a serious note, I read that OK Magazine said that just under 9 years ago, he suffered 2 major heart attacks in one day. So I don't know. I know the specifics about the medical issue are not being disclosed by the family at this point in time. So I didn't know.
Yeah, they said it was a medical emergency, and that's all that they said. But he was surrounded by his family.
I had a picture taken with Congressman Pat Ryan at a county fundraiser last year, and earlier this year actually. And I was wearing some sunglasses, and I texted to a female former colleague in politics, and texted me back, "You look like Bono." And my response, I immediately replied back, "And I have moved like Jagger," which elicited a smiling response back. But the Afroman case is fascinating because I looked it up. The only legal recourse that the police could have had would have been to copyright themselves to try and cover any type of subject matter that he might write about in his songs, and then they could argue that they would be entitled to royalties. But I applaud the jury's decision because law enforcement makes a lot of mistakes, falsely arresting people. And in his particular case, it probably there weren't enough damages for him to sue for how they damaged his house, and he couldn't prove that, there was less money there than when they arrived. So his recourse was to write some songs about it, and, he became famous for basically writing an anti-drug song if you look at his career. So I think the whole thing is very interesting. I wanted to bring up to you about, I was looking to try and call you on Tuesday, your 4 o'clock show, the media, I had MSNBC on, and Katie Shore cut in through a political analyst, and they were trying to drum up the notion, how far can voters in the state of Illinois, how far left are they going to go with these 5 open House seats, Congress, and the 1 senatorial Dick Durbin seat. And it dawns on me how the media is trying to capitalize on their ratings, trying to drum up infighting within the Democratic Party, and I'm sure with, all these repercussions about the Iranian war and how it's causing inflation and gases, oil, and home heating oil and diesel to go up and jet fuel to go up, that, there's going to be discussions in the media about infighting within MAGA. And what's ironic about that is the media is responsible for Donald Trump getting elected to begin with, because if they hadn't have endlessly, incessantly broken in on every little minutia of activity that the Trump campaign did going back, 10 and a half, 11 years ago, Trump would have never beat Hillary Clinton the first time around to begin with.
Now, interesting that you say that. Number one, agreed. Everything that you said, yes. There's one thing that I do want to point out. The infighting among MAGA, they have been trying to drum that story up ever since Iran broke. In fact, the latest is that Lauren Boebert. Can I just actually tell you, one of the Republicans that I just can't with this Lauren Boebert woman. I can't. Lauren Boebert now has declared that she's not going to vote for a $200 billion supplemental for Iran if it comes up. She's out front saying, I'm telling you about leadership now. Fine, Lauren Boebert. Have it your way. But the infighting that's supposedly among MAGA, and that has been the storyline, Harry Enton from CNN is reporting, number one, overall, Trump's poll numbers are down to the lowest point they have been, 43%, 42% in that range. And a lot of it's due to what's happening in Iran and the oil prices, gas prices, affordability. So you got that. But listen to his report, cut 32, Matt, from earlier this week about Trump's numbers. And as someone deeply knowledgeable about politics, as you are, Chris, I was astounded by this polling data. And Harry Enton calls it as he sees it, regardless. I will say this about Harry Enton. Behind the TIPP poll, I think I look to him as being, which is ironic at CNN. I put TIPP poll first, and then Harry Enton has been doing some remarkable work, I think, in just being honest. Listen to this from earlier this week.
And this is one of those, because just take a look here. MAGA GOP view of Trump. Approve 100%. If you are a member of MAGA and the GOP, you approve of Donald John Trump. 0% say that they disapprove. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know you can't go higher than 100%. He is the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Now, there are some Republicans who disapprove of Donald John Trump, but they are not members of the Make America Great Again movement. The bottom line is this. If you are a member of MAGA, you approve of Donald Trump.
It's interesting, though, because there have been a couple prominent people who have sort of come out online, and they're very mad about this war with Iran because he promised no new wars. Is there any sign that people might be leaving MAGA relative to 2024?
Yeah, okay. So, I've said it before, and, the theme of this segment is Tucker Carlson be darned. And when we look at the numbers, I've heard some people say, oh, you know what, when you look at those MAGA numbers, it doesn't account for those who might have left MAGA. But take a look here. Americans who identify as MAGA, in November of 2024, it was 28% of Americans. Now it's basically the same. If anything, it's slightly higher at 30%. The bottom line is this. The MAGA base within the GOP is not shrinking. It's the same size. If anything, it is slightly larger than it was back in 2024 when, of course, Donald Trump won a second term. So that 100% that Donald Trump has approval among MAGA GOP, that is not an artifact of MAGA shrinking. It's just an indication of how strong Donald Trump's grip is on that MAGA base.
And so I guess it begs the question what's happening with inside the GOP and if there are any splits there, because with those kind of numbers, they're going to want to retain that, right? So they can retain their seats.
Yes. And you know what we're talking about, we mentioned Iran in the intro of this segment, GOP on U.S. military action in Iran. Look at this. In MAGA, it's 90% approval. It's 90% approval, just 5% disapproval. If you disapprove of the job that Donald Trump is doing, the U.S. military action in Iran, and you're a member of the GOP, look at this. It's your non-MAGA. You're non-MAGA. It's 36% there, 54% approve. But the majority of Republicans approve of the job that the U.S. military action is in Iran, and the majority of MAGA, which is the majority of the GOP, very much approve, 90%. Very little split in Donald Trump's base. Those who disapprove in the GOP, simply put, they hate MAGA.
It's really clear. MAGA has the floor.
MAGA has the floor, 100%.
All right. Harry Anton, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That surprised me, Chris. And I very rarely get surprised by poll numbers. What about you?
Well, as I was listening to that, I was thinking, what's the difference between the infighting in, say, the Republican Party, which is predominantly heavily sort of governed by MAGA movement, and infighting with the Democratic Party, how they were free, like how far to the left can the Democratic primary voters go in Illinois. Right now, obviously, there's the record because the Republican Party is the dominant party in the federal branch of government right now. So there's a record that can be criticized and attacked. Now, I personally, just regardless of what my political views or party enrollment is, I think it's healthy if there would be members of the MAGA movement in the wing of the Republican Party that would be critical of things that the Trump administration does that they view not to be good for the health of this country, And
I do, but see, Chris, I do think that there are things. I will tell you, I'm critical of some things. But if you ask me if I support Donald Trump and what he's doing, is 100% yes. But that doesn't mean I'm not critical of things. So I think it's really how you ask that question. I think there are some things I'm definitely critical of. I think that there are look, this week we saw reports that Trump said maybe some of the deportation tactics that were being used went a little bit too far. So maybe even he's critical of some things that supposedly get done. Don't know whether that's an accurate reporting or not. But here's the thing, by the way, the progressive got shut out in Illinois in some recent. So there's some trouble brewing in that camp. For real, there's trouble brewing.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
On the telephone, Harold is calling in from Tennessee this morning. Good morning, Harold. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Golden. I'm great.
Good. So what is on your mind this morning, sir?
When we get the Straits of Hormuz opened, I believe we should put a toll on it. Maybe $1 a barrel. The policeman of the world needs to be paid.
When the Strait of put a toll on it, we're going to have a toll on it. The toll, I believe, the toll might be called the Korg Islands. I'm not sure, but I don't think that we're leaving there without some oil. I'll just put it like that. I don't think we're going to be
We left Iraq without any oil. We let the Chinese have it. But this is Donald Trump, not George Bush.
Thank you. And Joe Biden left, $80 billion worth of equipment in Afghanistan when he tucked tail and ran? That's not going to happen.
We should still be there. We've been in Europe for 80 years, keeping the bear off off the Europeans.
Yeah, but the Europeans don't appear to be grateful for that anymore, Harold.
Yeah, well, let them, if they buy Iraqi oil, let them pay the toll, $1 a barrel, more or less, whatever it takes to pay for this war.
I like the way you think. Pay the toll.
Did he tell you what I said? Did he tell you what I said about jihadis?
No, and I think I better have him tell me rather than just don't surprise me, please.
Okay.
Because
I'm serious. What to do?
All right,
with
I will ask him, but don't surprise me. Thank you, Harold. Thank you for the call so much. Pay the toll for the oil. I love it. Dave in New Jersey, you are up next. How are you, Dave?
Hey, Bo, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good. You are my favorite radio personality, I have to say. But one thing I want to say is I'd appreciate it if you would stop promoting Pink Floyd, because Roger Waters is one of the biggest anti-Semites in the world. And I went to his concert in 2017. It wasn't a concert. It was an anti-Trump rally, and half the crowd walked out after 2 songs. So I just want you to be aware of who this guy really is.
You know what? I hear what you're saying, and you know I don't promote hate. I don't care whose hate it is, who's it directed toward. Don't promote hate. But let me just say this about the music. I'm not going to stop loving Another Brick in the Wall. Okay? I'm just not. And when it comes up, I'm going to play it. But I'm not going to go out of my way. Just like, with Springsteen. I'd play a song or two by Springsteen, grudgingly, now, because the music is the music. I love Barbra Streisand's music. If you would have stopped playing music from liberals, we wouldn't have a lot of music to play. Not that there aren't conservatives making great music. There are. But let's face it, the entertainment industry is dominated by leftists. That's just the way it is. So I let the music stand for itself. I think it's okay to like great art. And sometimes, you have to just deal with the fact that the artists themselves are not particularly desirable politically or in some cases even socially. But the art is the art, man. Dave, appreciate your call very much. We got to wrap it up. Sorry, didn't give you a chance to respond. Hour number duo headed quickly right now for the can. It's getting ready to go in. The can.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Some people like lemon pound cake. That is their sweetness. For those that follow politics, there is another sweetness.
It's time for Radio Royalty with James Golden and America's Princess of Policy, Princess Di.
Yes, my friends, the sweetness of American politics, Her Highness, Her Wonderfulness, Her Everythingness when it comes to analysis-ness. Princess Diana, this is in our house. Good morning, Your Highness, and welcome. How are you?
Oh, Sir James and the newly dubbed Duke of Democracy, thanks to one of your wonderful callers, and I agree.
Ah, yes, the Duke of Democracy. I'll have to get my own theme for that, the Duke of Democracy. Your Highness, what an incredible week it has been. So much happening. Your take on where we are with the Iran war that it is now entering today enters the 4th week of this conflict.
Well, if you read the mainstream media and much of the online bots, I believe, you would believe what the message is consistently, which is Iran has already won. And that is coming from storied newspapers like the Wall Street Journal today, whose headline is, Iran sees an opening to control Mideast energy over long run. And let me me read you the first paragraph of the Wall Street Journal. 3 weeks into the war, Iran's regime is signaling that it believes it is winning and has the power to impose a settlement on Washington that entrenches Tehran's dominance of Middle East energy resources for decades to come. And the Wall Street Journal says the Iranian leadership currently possesses significant leverage for a deal with the U.S. The current conflict may prove the regime, if it survives, with renewed strength at home. And it seriously lists Iran's demands, which are massive reparations, the U.S. military out of the Middle East, and that Iran permanently controls the Strait of Hormuz. And this is treated seriously not only by the Wall Street Journal, but by all of the mainstream coverage. It is relentless. It is ABC, NBC, CBS, which is that Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He has made mistake after mistake. The United States is losing in every way, and Trump is about to turn tail and run. And none of this is true, not a single thing. And it is remarkable to me that the polling basically has a pretty good poll numbers. The American people are not falling for this after a mere 3-4 weeks, that we are in a quagmire, all of the things that the media is saying. And just to recap, that some of the highlights that the United States has effectively done, we have decapitated the Iranian leadership. We have killed their generals, the mullahs, and the secret police. We have put their navy on the bottom of the ocean. We have destroyed what was left of their Air Force. They have no air defense capability. We have ruined their missile and nuke manufacturing ability. We have destroyed hundreds of bases. We have had 8,000 sorties and 8,000 targets on that country, and they are afraid of their own population, the leadership. And one of the results of what they have done, which is just randomly spray their neighbors with bombs, is that the Gulf states are with the United States. And the fact that we have total air supremacy has allowed us to unfettered access of all of our targets. And so one of the things that I can say is the media is lying. And the other thing they were celebrating, that so many of our used to be allies were not with us. They said this is not our war in Europe, and we're not going to help. And then suddenly this week, they issued a statement saying they will participate and support the United States in reopening Hormuz. That is South Korea. That's a recent joiner of this statement. Japan, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, Italy, Netherlands, and Canada are suddenly saying that they will assist and support the United States efforts in the Gulf, which is the opposite of what they were saying in the previous weeks. So the pressure that the United States is exerting is effective, not only in the theater of the battle itself, but with the coalition building that it is doing worldwide. And one of the interesting things that Bessent announced, I saw a long explanation yesterday of allowing Iran to sell oil, which, of course, when the media reports it, it is seen as a defeat. But when you read the reasoning by the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, it is such a strategic win for us. There are 140 million barrels stranded at sea that Iran has basically released that is wandering around. Those are the barrels. They've already been paid for, that Scott Bessent is going to allow to continue to their destination. And he has frozen much of the leadership of Iran's money and funding, so they do not have access to it. So this is part of what Bessent says, that the United States is bringing 440 million additional barrels of oil to market. And so that is all designed to release some of the strains on the oil market, the energy market, which is still in process. This problem has not been solved on the Strait of Hormuz, but it is being solved by the administration, who is methodically destroying the opposition. We just bombed one of the nuke facilities again. We hit Natanz. I don't know if you read about that.
Yes, I did this morning. Yes.
With bunker busters again. So we are preventing, which is, everyone says, well, what is the purpose of this war? This is the purpose of this war. We are preventing this country, Iran, from ever again threatening the world with nuclear weapons. And one of the things that happened, which has gotten very little coverage, I don't know if you saw, but Iran fired 2 IRBMs, which is the intermediate range ballistic missiles, at Diego Garcia. Now, they did not hit. One of them failed midair, but one of them was intercepted by a U.S. warship. But it reached 2,500 miles, which everyone who was cynical and not believing the Trump administration, everyone in the rest of the expert class said that Iran did not have the capacity to do. Iran could not threaten Europe. Well, they launched 2 that prove that they can. And that was the goal of Iran, to be able to arm those missiles with nukes and control the world. And so basically they fired them and proved that Trump had been correct. So there's been a lot more information that is coming out. Unfortunately, the American people are not being given that information by the mainstream media. So I'm glad that I have the opportunity to summarize some of that. But we are in amazing position as the United States of America, with a targeted, focused president who is going to affect his policies, and the world will benefit, even though they're all complaining about it at this point.
All right, talk to me for a minute about the new Vindman. During the Bush, we had this, the first administration, we had the old Vindman who thought he ran everything from his perch. And now we have this guy, Joe Kent, that's all over the place, along with these others. And basically, the theme of the Joe Kents of the world, and some other well-known conservatives, I have to say, is the Jews made us do it. I'm just bottoming. That's what they're all getting at. I don't understand I'm trying to restrain myself from saying things about particular people who, in some cases, I respect. But this view has circulated throughout the social media platforms and has picked up a little bit of steam. Do you see it going anywhere, or is this just the usual rabble-rousing from the sidelines?
I think it's an operation, and I do not think it is going anywhere. I think Joe Kent, who hardly anyone had heard of before, he did successfully run for Congress some years back, but he was a no-name. He was somebody who seemed to be a patriot, former special forces, etc. But he was caught leaking, and he was sidelined by the Trump administration for months. And so he decided to go out in a blaze of glory and get what he has gotten, which is media love. He has this new respect from the media, who is, of course, anyone who goes off on Trump, which he did in his resignation letter, becomes a media hero. And so he is a hero temporarily because everything he said was a lie, but he gets this strange new respect from the media and from this small quotient of people who want to blame Israel. Now, there was an interesting poll, I believe it was the CNN poll, which asked specifically that question. Who do you side with on the policies of Iran? More with Trump or with, and they named Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and Candace Owens, some of the other people. Which do you side with? This was asked of Republicans. 6% sided with this quotient of MAGA people who are anti-Israel at the moment. 6%, and the vast majority sided with Trump. So I think it's a very noisy and small amount. It is not having an effect.
Got it.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I want to play for you, Princess Diana, something from, you mentioned Scott Besson. He was on earlier in the week with Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business, and he mentioned something that you brought to our attention last week. I want you to take a listen to this with us, Princess Di.
This is nonsense, Maria. For the regime, we're back to the stuff of Baghdad Bob here. The regime is in collapse, and the people are starting to turn against them. We're starting to see defections. At Treasury, we now know where the Iranian leadership bank accounts are, and those are being frozen. And we will hold them and see who comes forward in terms of defections. But we're starting to see defections throughout the regime, and that's how this ends. So the idea of some tolling arrangement is ridiculous. What President Trump is talking about, and to be clear, he has focused on Kharg Island since 1988, before the Shah fell, that the U.S. should be focused on that. He is laser focused on it. As I said, there was a bombing campaign last week. The military assets on Kharg Island were destroyed. And the other thing I can tell you, if you're an oil worker, you don't want to work there. So all the oil workers there are being coerced to stay there. And, we will see what happens with whether that eventually becomes a U.S. asset.
Your thoughts?
Well, he has signaled something that I think is the plan. And so, I think I'm going to not say anything more other than watch the island, watch Kharg Island. I think that is going to be fascinating and a key event of the Trump administration's second term.
Now, go to cut 8. Here is a representative in the Republican Party. You might recognize her voice, you might not. It depends on how hysterical the voice is sometimes. Here she is.
I will not vote for a war supplemental. No, I am a no. I've already told leadership I am a no on any war supplementals. I am so tired of spending money elsewhere. I am tired of the industrial war complex getting all of our hard-earned tax dollars. I have folks in Colorado who can't afford to live. We need America First policies right now, and that I'm not doing that. We need the Save America Act, FISA with warrants. There's a lot of hard lines that I have right now, and we've got to get our act together if we want to keep this majority. And the path that we're going doesn't look very promising.
Should the administration get out of Iran?
Mm-hmm. That's up to the president.
Yeah.
I do not know who it is, but I don't like whoever it is because, this is one of the things I'm going to just speak as an instant reaction to hearing that for the first time is that women need to stop speaking emotionally if they're elected and stop speaking emotionally if they're in the media. Just like, oh, I can't stand it. I'm not going to do it. It's just not professional. And so I think she needs to calm down and also support the funding that our troops need.
Well, maybe if she goes to a movie theater with the right guy sitting next to her, maybe.
Oh dear, your favorite then, Boebert, is it?
Yes, it was Boebert. Boebert.
Enough said.
Yeah, a visit to the movie.
Unpersuasive. Her hysteria will not carry the day, and she needs to basically see another movie.
Yes, go to another movie. For those of you that don't understand the movie reference, one day perhaps we'll explain it. Princess Di, stay there. We may take some calls together, but I got a few other things I want to run by you. That not Iran, there are other issues in the news. So, don't go away. Princess Di is here.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Princess Diana in the house with us. Thank you, Rod. Okay, Princess, we had a heck of a week here. And I want you to stay on. We're going to grab some calls. Let me just go through a few things that happened this week that I thought were significant. Okay, aside from the DHS still shutting down, or just tell me whether significant. Margaret Brennan on CBS offended by Pete Hegseth praying for the fallen troops. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Yeah.
Well, it was because he specifically uttered the name Jesus Christ in his prayer, which has a long history going back to our founding fathers. And so there was she got a lot of blowback online, because if you're offended by that, then you're offended by many of our original documents. But yes, she was upset that was said out loud by someone who was sending our men and women into harm's way.
Donald Trump. The media had their panties in a wad because Donald Trump cracked a joke with the Japanese prime minister. Of course, there was silence in the room. Of course, when I first heard it, I said, did he say that?
Oh, no, he didn't. There was a stunned silence, but then there were gasps. Yeah. So there was a vocal reaction. And, if you saw the video, there was a frozen expression on the Japanese prime minister's face. She could not believe what she was hearing. And it was clear she understood English at that moment because she didn't need translation. And so, yes, it was a reference. I don't know if you played the soundbite, but it was. I
didn't play it. But
it was a reference to, World War II events.
He said, "Well, because the discussion was about we didn't inform the Japanese of an event. Well, you guys, I was surprised you didn't tell me about Pearl Harbor."
Yeah. Who knows more about the surprise attack than the Japanese, is what he said in the Oval Office with the Japanese prime minister frozen-faced right next to him. It was Trumpian.
There were big concerns that this could harm Japanese-American relationships. That's like, get a life, really?
Well, she visited, I believe, this morning, Arlington, and went to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So I do not think it harmed any relationship. And then did you see the warm birthday greeting she gave to Barron Trump? In a joint conference, and I think Trump was surprised. She spent about a minute just mentioning how tall and good-looking he was. Obviously got looks from his father, and wished him a very sincere happy birthday to Barron. You could tell that Trump really appreciated that. Yes.
Okay.
He's 20, I believe, Barron.
Mm-hmm. I already covered the Afroman trial, which is hysterical for me. Nick Shirley. I don't know whether you have seen, Princess Diana, any of Nick Shirley's videos in California.
Yes.
This kid is uncovering stuff. The media refused to ever do this kind of reporting, and this kid is doing it. He's going to all these places that are on the public dole that are getting money, and you could just tell this is a scam. These businesses aren't there. Nothing. In some cases, they're houses, not business, and they're sucking down money from the federal government and from California. And what Gavin Newsom does is attack the kid. He puts out some tweet that the kid he tries to pretend the kid is some kind of pedophile or something or I should say spreads a post with that implication about Nick Shirley. How do you think this story is going to resonate out?
Well, the fraud is being uncovered not just in Minneapolis and Minnesota, which is where Nick Shirley started, but similar, his handheld videos and going to these places and also combining with the information of how many billions are being spent on these obvious storefront locations that there is no taxpayer justification for the money coming there. So this is part of his, newly found role, and it is important, and that the one that the vice president is going to follow up on. California, interestingly enough, I know you mentioned it during the week, their top two primary winners look like that they're going to be a runoff between two Republicans, which is hilarious because this jungle primary in California for the governor's race was designed to cut out Republicans, and they assumed it would only be between two top Democrats. Well, the two top winners look like Steve Hilton, a Republican, and Chad Bianco, sheriff, Republican. So that's a game changer.
And today, as a result, the Los Angeles Times has an article pretty much calling for California to change it once again.
Yes, they called for ranked choice all of a sudden.
Right.
That, they think, will work better.
Right. These people are just unbelievable. They're unbelievable. All right, quickly to the phones we go. Princess Di is here. So let us start in Connecticut with Steve. You're up, Steve. Got to make it quick. What is the point you'd like to make? Good morning.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thanks for taking my call. Just to follow up with what the Princess said on the two ballistic missiles, they are offensive in nature and could have reached most of Europe. So for people to claim that, like Joe Kent, to claim that Iran was not an imminent threat got proven wrong last night.
Absolutely. Boom. I couldn't have said it better.
Thank you so much. Rich in Pennsylvania, you are up next. What is on your mind, Rich? Thank you for waiting.
Good morning. Good morning, folks. Thanks for the bumper music. I love it. Back to the top of the last hour, I hold in my hand Pink Floyd's The Story of Wish You Were Here. In this story, David Gilmour says he's a social democrat. It is very tough to overlook their politics, but you're right. You got to stick with the music. It's tough. The music rules.
The music rules. Oh, Rich, I love that. That's the shorthand that I need. The music rules. Thank you, Rich. The music rules, Rich. Sandra in New Jersey, you're up next.
Oh, good morning, James and Princess Di. You know, James, it's getting warm out. We'll see more e-bikes, and guess what? Mayor Mandani decided no more summonses for these bikers because he doesn't want them to leave. If you get a summons, you usually get deported after that. But he loves them. He wants them to stay, so no more summonses. And then something that surprised me about a month ago, he tried to make every corner, every crosswalk where you can't park throughout the city. He kind of lost on that. But he said he's doing that for safety of the pedestrians.
They're coming back, Sandra. I read a story this week. New York wants to eliminate most parking spaces that are free and start charging for people. As you know, they also want to drop down the death tax, for lack of it, to $750,000, which means almost everybody in New York that owns a house would be subject to forking over money to these Democrats instead of to their own children, so the Democrats can stick their hand in your pocket after you've paid all the taxes during your life. They want to even take more when you die and steal the generational wealth from your kids. And Kathy Hochul, of course, begging people in Palm Beach to come back to New York to fund her generous social programs after she specifically told them to get out of New York because they didn't have New York values. Princess, and then you got Mondami's wife using the N-word and other posts basically siding up with terrorists. What do you make of all this, Princess Diana?
Well, you said it right about Kathy Hochul, which has been hilarious. Please come back after she's taxed everybody and got them out there and coming to Florida. But you're right. I mean, Cuomo himself said about conservatives, they have no place in the state of New York because that's not who New Yorkers are. And if you remember, our boss was drummed out of New York by taxes, and the governor at the time said, if we had known it was this easy to get rid of Rush Limbaugh, we would have done it sooner. So these people are now experiencing the FAFO of when they drive wealthy people and successful people away, then they realize they needed them.
Yep. Do you think that the wife of Zoran is going to get any blowback for you throwing around the N-word and some other stuff?
Not a bit.
Not a bit. Okay, gotcha on that. Maria in Westchester County, you are up next.
Hey, so no one is talking about Joe Kent's new book, Send Me. And I'm sure he's loving all this attention over this controversy of resigning versus all the new allegations. So look at all this free publicity he's getting for his book. So not only did he profit probably from his wife's death and from the subject of the book, now he's profiting with this book.
Can I just mention something, Maria? Can I just say something? Princess Diana may not agree with me on this. In the old days, that would have been a problem. Now, since very few people read in America anyway, and the people that do read want to figure out how they can get it for free or wait around and figure out ways that they can get it for free, it ain't a problem because he ain't going to sell that many books. Right now, selling books is more difficult than ever before if the book is interesting. If it's just another political hack pushing a book, nobody's buying that stuff. On the other hand, he's going to get a payday somehow, and so a lot of books are quote-unquote sold, and they're really political contributions by the left. Okay, and I don't care, but in terms of impact, he's not going to have any impact from his book. No, he's had it in the last few days, and that's it. Yeah. So, Maria, I hear you. But his and this is another, he's getting his 15 minutes, and the 15 minutes are going to be over. Silas, you got a quick minute, and then we got to head to a break. So, Silas, make it quick. You're up next.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that they're bringing out what his wife said about black people, and we know they felt that way all the time. I mean, she felt that stuff when she was 15 years old.
Yep, Ma'am Dammy's wife. And I haven't heard any apology from Ma'am Dammy. Of course, since his administration is trying to take the houses of those people, maybe no apology necessary. You people that are listening in the New York market, we're of course around the country, but those of you listening in New York, particularly in the minority neighborhoods, as he's become, the minority, you might want to reconsider now what you'll feel. Do you like being called the N-word by your first partner? It doesn't matter. Like Silas said, they thought about this all along anyway. Thank you, Silas. 1 minute left. Jim, you got the last minute before we head to the break. Massachusetts, good morning. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. The Lauren Boebert thing. The Democrat Party is a political party of crisis, and they are also a political party of victimology. And I want to point out that since I'm immersed in the history of the Second World War, those are the two qualities of the National Socialist Party. They were racist politicians, and they were all massive victims of everybody in the world. And when the Democrats like to call me a Nazi, I believe them, because projection is the singular psychological characteristic of those people.
Ah, interesting. Thank you, Jim. Any remarks on that, Princess Diana?
Well, I know that projection is the MO of the left worldwide, so we can agree on that.
Princess Di, thank you so much for being with us and staying with us. this morning. We look forward to catching up with you maybe during the week. I got like 30 sound bites that I wanted to get to today that I knew I wouldn't get all of them in, but some of them are just really amazing. The $30 minimum wage that now is costing people in California their jobs. They want to do it in New York and so much other stuff. So who knows? Maybe we'll catch up during the week. Princess Diana, thank you.
We should have a California Day. And thank you, James, the Duke of Democracy.
Thank you. I like the California Day. I'm going to follow up with you on that. California Day. Great.
Thanks for listening to The James Golden Show. You can hear The James Golden Show Saturday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 45% off with minimum purchase plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.
Tires matter. They're the only part of your vehicle that touches the road. Tread confidently with new tires from Tire Rack. Whether you're looking for expert recommendations or know exactly what you want, Tire Rack makes it easy. Fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, and convenient installation options. Go to TireRack.com to see tire test results, tire ratings, and consumer reviews, and be sure to check out all the special offers. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.